We made this.
Welcome to Back to the Decade, the podcast where we rewind 10 years and reflect on pop culture at the time. And a happy new year to all of our listeners. It's our first recording in 2021. I'm Thomas Adams, joined by Nick Hoffman.
What's up?
Nick, happy new year to you and your family. I know that we were supposed to have a recording in December, but the holidays became a lot, as they tend to do. So we're coming a little bit delayed. We're going to do a bit of a mega episode today, where in light of the end of our first year of coverage, we're going to review a few movies that came out in the latter part of 2010 in December and early January. And then we're also going to reflect on our favorite movies, performances, cinematography, scores of the year, and just kind of do our own little Oscars and talk about what our favorite movies were of this year that we just covered. I know we did that a little bit back in March. It'll be nice to look with this new perspective after we've kind of gone through month by month and revisited some of these movies.
Yeah, I don't think my list is anywhere near what it was beginning. I think it's definitely much different. I think I actually ended up with 11 movies on my top 10. I was like, oh fuck, man, there was a lot of good movies.
So you had to eliminate one.
I haven't done it yet. I was just gonna make it a game time decision.
You're gonna X one out in the process.
Yep.
Yeah, I think for me, like, I was looking at it. And the large majority of them we covered. There's 15 movies that I really love, like 15 movies that I think could have been in consideration.
Yeah, there were some that I don't know. I could have put on. Yeah, I could easily put some that I leave out in my top 10. But for me, the ones that I choose more than any of them are the ones I remember having good experiences with. So that's like what my top 5 is, because I do remember like some really cool moments in time. I remember exactly where I was, and I remember how excited I was, and it was like an experience, so
yeah, the movies that resonate with you in significant ways that have some sort of emotional pull to them. I think the same goes for me, and that'll like reflect when we count it down later on. But in the meantime, let's hit the decade rewind right off the bat. We have a lot to talk about today, so let's get right to it and go
back to the decade.
All right, so for the last 3 movies we got to talk about from 2010 is the Coen Brothers' True Grit. We're talking about Tron Legacy, and we're talking about David O. Russell's The Fighter. I think we should go ahead and get started with Tron Legacy, since that's our like non-Oscar film of these 3. The other 2 are Best Picture nominees. So we'll talk about Tron Legacy first.
I promised you that if I ever got any information about your dad, I'd tell you first. I got a page from your dad's office.
Where am I?
This isn't happening.
Your father was the creator of this world.
Where do I find him?
Stay alive, and he'll find you.
This is a movie that you actually encouraged me to watch. So why don't you go talk about why it's something that you have a positive recollection of?
Yeah, I love this movie, and I was never even really a fan necessarily of the original. I knew of it, and my brothers really liked it growing up. Sadly, I still actually haven't gone back and really watched all of it. I know it was like on in the background a lot of times growing up. And I love Jeff Bridges, obviously, I always have. He's been in a lot of movies since I was a wee lad that I always loved. But so yeah, I I'm not like a huge fan of the original, but I love Tron Legacy, and they really kind of give you the background of the original so well in the sequel, and then it follows Jeff Bridges' character is Kevin Flynn, and also Clue, which is the computer character that he made in Tron to compete in his games that they designed. But basically, the son of Kevin Flynn, Sam, is, he's all grown up in this, futuristic world now that his father's been gone for however many years, whatever it was, 20, 30 years. And he ends up going to his, the father's old arcade, where he goes back down to the, he kind of plugs everything back in and goes down to where his dad used to work all the time, and his computer comes on, and he's kind of just like right place, right time, and basically transports him to that digital world that his father had been working on for so long. And he ends up, he searches for his father throughout the film. And the main protagonist, just as in the original, which is Clue, kind of splits from him in the digital world. I mean, it's a little complicated. I mean, you really have to watch the movie because the movie's pretty strange, but just so entertaining. And I thought Tron Legacy was just, it was so much better than it should have been. I remember being, I wasn't like crazy stoked for it, but I was excited because it was around the time when 3D was like popping off again and everyone was loving it. And I didn't necessarily like 3D, but I thought this movie looked really cool, and I thought it was worth checking out in 3D. And I remember my brother and his wife Julie bought us, we bought me tickets to go see the movie, and we all saw it together. And I think there's even a picture of me somewhere where I had the 3D glasses on, and just before the movie, and we're excited. And and it's such a just roller coaster of a ride, like super entertaining. I thought the cast is fantastic. The cinematography is beautiful. I mean, the soundtrack kicks ass. Obviously it's Daft Punk, and
right.
Man, it was a really, 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 really fun movie. I mean, I would even say arguably like the most fun movie of the year as far as, just action sci-fi goes. A really, really good time at the theater. And I do remember it so well because, we saw it in 3D. And yeah, man, I love this movie. I don't know. It was your first time seeing it, right?
Yeah, and I hate that I'm gonna rain on your parade, but this movie doesn't really work for me.
No, well, no, and I completely understand that because it is. Yeah, it's not supposed to work for everyone, and there's a reason they haven't done Tron 3 because it did not do well.
From what I understand, and like you just mentioned, it's the first time I saw it. I have no relationship to the original Tron.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like, it came out before I was born. I would have really had no reason to seek it out. I think so. When this came out, I remember it, but I didn't really know what the IP was, so to speak. So I don't think I had a ton of interest in it. I will say, like, I find the visuals of this movie tremendous. I think the visuals and the soundtrack work really well. Had I seen this in a theater at the time, I think it probably would have worked a lot better for me. But from what I understand, this movie was quite polarizing upon release. Like, it's one of those movies that's got like that 50% Rotten Tomatoes. There's a lot of people that are very passionate about it, a lot of people that are like kind of object. And I think for me, I think my main objection is that I just don't get a lot out of the narrative. And I'm not quite sure why that is. Like, I didn't see the first one, and I don't think that necessarily is why it doesn't work for me. Because, like you said, they do try to set that up and kind of give you a good baseline of what the first one is about, so you kind of like understand it. But I think as much as I love Jeff Bridges, I just didn't really feel connected to that relationship that's trying to be the heart of the movie between father and son, and this new character that's coming into this world after his father like left him at a young age, and he's trying to like figure out why his father's been gone all this time.
Yeah, I forgot to mention in the plot, like his father gets like sucked into this
right.
digital world that he has created, and then he's basically stuck there because
like the digital creations that the father had kind of manifested revolted against him,
right,
and trapped him in the game. Like, and it's very much one of those like the AI rises up against man and tries to take over kind of movies. And this, it's not a movie that I think is a bad movie, but unfortunately, like, and this very much could be my mood, because obviously as new parents we watch things very tired anymore. But you like talked about the movie as fun, but like when we sat down to watch it, I kept getting sleepy. I like wasn't really engaged. I was kind of bored, and maybe that's the movie's fault. Maybe it's not, but that's just kind of the relationship I had with watching it.
Yeah, it's definitely like a movie where you're like, it's like no one asked for the sequel. No one. I mean, unless like you're a hardcore Tron fan, but I didn't think there was that many of those, especially in 2010. But I was intrigued, obviously, and I like the nostalgia of it.
From what I understand, Disney put a lot into making this. Like, this was a huge, this was a huge production for them. I was reading some research today. They spent $175 million in production, and then another $150 million just in like marketing it. And this thing was hyped up at Comic-Con for multiple years prior to release. So I think they really wanted to get people excited about returning to the world, which, for someone like me that had no familiarity with it, is hard to kind of wrap my head around that excitement would have been there. But I completely get that for a lot of people, if it's a movie that, especially for it to come out in the 80s when it did and be about this like digital tech that had not fully evolved yet, and obviously it's only gotten more and more advanced as time has carried on, I do think that the story demanded an update. It demanded a modern retelling. But if I have a gripe with it, I don't know if the story actually tries to explore that in a way that I found all that interesting.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from, but still, for me, I guess I was fully engaged, especially when I saw it in the theater, and rewatching it earlier in the year. I still loved it so much. I think the soundtrack's cool. There's some performances I really like, specifically Michael Sheen as Castor.
Yeah, he's a scene stealer.
Oh man, he's like a David Bowie type, just like so cool with his cane, and he thinks he's doing all these, badass things, and he's double crossing people, and it doesn't necessarily work out for him in the end, but I thought that scene was so cool in the bar when he's like entertaining all these guests, and he's trying to make Sam feel at home, and he's making him think he helps him. But of course, you got Olivia Wilde in it, who is, for one, gorgeous, and she's a good actress, and I thought she was perfect in that role. Jeff Bridges doing his best, Zen, sort of like if Lebowski was caught in a video game, this is maybe how he'd end up. I don't know.
If Lebowski was a Silicon Valley bro.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I just had a lot of fun with this movie, and I think that energy and fun I had with it in the theater just still carries over to today, where I can put it on. And I mean, it's really one of those movies where you can just kind of have on in the background, and just like you could leave, go in and out of the room, leave it on, throw it on at a party. I don't know. It's just it's beautiful to look at, you know. And there's, like you said, you know, they put so much money into it that it shows for sure. And yeah, another kick-ass soundtrack, man. Like, this was a really great year for soundtracks, truly.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, man. I mean, I totally get people that are like, "What the hell is this? Why do I care about these people?" I get that, but for me, I just I latched onto it and really just took it for what it was. And loved it.
I definitely see a world where if you're someone that connects with the movie, it's a very relaxing film, because like it's a pretty smooth plot. Like, it moves well from scene to scene. The visuals are, like, of course, really great. So it's like, it is like you're saying about how you can kind of just put it on and just like have it be a good piece of like background visual and something to like pop in and out of. Like, that makes a lot of sense to me. I think like having watched it like only once and watching it for the first time, like structurally, I know that like the beginning held my attention a lot, and I was like very much invested in the process of getting to Tron and like how all of that kind of unfolds for the main character. And then of course he gets there, and there's like these kind of great set pieces about the disc fights, and of course the kind of iconic motorcycle type racing that goes with Tron. And you get some of that like in the first third and in the final third, but I think it's that like middle portion where I kind of drag with the movie, because it's a lot of exposition. It's a lot of like setting up stuff that I wasn't necessarily like vibing with, and then you know, I'm just kind of like wanting it to get to the cooler shit while I'm watching it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I completely get why it works for people. It's definitely like a gorgeous film with a top tier soundtrack. We're gonna do a lot of bridges today. I didn't even like watching True Grit. I'm like, damn, we got double the bridges, and they could not be bridges. Like, they could not be more different performances, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's like it's the two different sides of him. But yeah, it didn't work for me entirely, but I'm still glad that I checked it out, just to kind of get a better idea of a movie that I know had a lot of buzz, for better or worse, from that year, be it from the positive or the negative side.
Yeah, I could see them kind of like you just said, you know, it would have made sense for them just to do like a modern day like update of the film instead of a direct sequel. So I could see them like rebooting the franchise, kind of similar to what they're doing with Dune right now, you know, where they might just start over, because it is like an interesting, like a really cool and unique story. Like, that's one thing it has going for it. It's like a really unique movie, both the original and the sequel. There's really nothing quite like it. So yeah, I could see them just, you know, just starting from the scratch and having like a trilogy or whatever you want to do with it. And I think it would do really well.
In the hands of the right director, I think it could just be like super kick-ass as well. Like, I know that I've heard that Brad Bird has had interest in kind of rebooting Tron, and he directed the Incredibles movies and Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. He's really got a good eye for action choreography.
And then that would be amazing. I would love that. But I just had a really funny idea of someone who could do a reboot in their own way. And
who's that?
Hold on, I have to get this guy's name. You know, like the director Nicholas Winding, was it Refn?
Oh, did he do Drive?
Yeah, I mean, imagine if he did. I don't know if you've seen his other films like Neon Demon and man, what was the one after Drive that was sort of good?
All his films kind of have that energy in like a really dark and twisted way.
Yeah, but he could do like a super dark version. and it would be so slow and weird, and it'd be kind of like the David Lynch of Tron.
Yeah,
I don't know.
speaking of Drive, we'll get to watch that this year. I'm super excited about that.
Oh yeah,
the 2011 movie. But yeah, I think we've kind of said our piece, and we can move on. Let's keep it rolling with Bridges and get into a review of True Grit.
Marshal, Tom Chaney killed my father. I need you to go after him. Can we depart this afternoon?
This gang's a rough lot. Time for you to go home.
Not without Chaney, dead or alive. Help me, Marshal!
This is no longer a manhunt.
Them boys don't think about the wrath that's about to set down on them.
I will kill this girl!
Biggest mistake you ever made.
True Grit. Rated PG-13, December 22nd.
Such a good movie. I love this movie.
I'll go ahead and start this time. I hadn't seen True Grit for one reason or another. I do love the Coen brothers, but I think I always, for some reason, Western just hasn't been my genre. Like, I've not necessarily been into them. So I had not seen this movie, but I watched it the other night and I fell in love with True Grit. This is a fantastic movie. I was surprised to see the Coens tackle something that I found to be very traditional, honestly. Like, it's certainly funny and has a lot of their flourishes. And
the dialogue especially, you're like,
right.
Perfect. Pitch perfect.
But it was pretty conventional in the sense that, like, you know, so many Coen brothers kind of have those like dark twists to them, and this didn't. It was like just a good heroic story about a girl's quest to avenge her dad. A pretty by the book Western that obviously is a remake of a John Wayne classic.
Of an okay movie. It's a remake of an okay movie. And I, for one, I'm sure I'm in the minority here, but I'm not a John Wayne fan. Never have been. I think he's boring as hell. His movies suck. But so this movie needed this remake, and I think, I mean, it's still 10 years later. It's arguably the best Western of this century.
Right.
It's one of them, for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't be a good judge of that last statement because I have not watched a lot of Westerns, but I like this movie a ton. So I completely think that that's a fair statement. And I don't think we've really gotten a lot of Westerns in the 2000s. So, well,
yeah, there's definitely some good remakes. Like, I love, like, 310 to Yuma is a good one too. True Grit's obviously great. Proposition would be a good one. I don't know. I mean, no need to really go into a bunch, but yeah, Westerns aren't really popular movie in the last 20 years, right? It's just like not a very popular genre.
Right. I mean, it's that John Wayne bygone era, and I've not really seen any of his films either. Although as a
one note, dude, every movie he does, it's like, I am John Wayne. Oh, I'm tough. Like, come on, fuck off.
I'm not like. I try to be a film buff, so I do want to watch movies I've not seen, such as Shane or Cool Hand Luke or High Noon. Like, that's all things I've never seen that I feel like I should watch just for the sake of film history. But True Grit is, for one, before even having seen this, I love Haley Steinfeld. I think she's great. I wish that she was. I know that she's doing Dickinson on Apple TV Plus, and she had a music career and all this stuff. I think she's super talented.
This was her big breakout too. This is the role that got her. Like,
she's 13. Like, this started her career, but she would later do a movie that I'm not sure you've seen called The Edge of 17.
I've always wanted to. Yeah, I've always wanted to see that. I know it was very well reviewed. It's on my list. I
encourage you to watch it as soon as possible, especially because throughout this show, you've brought up how you love coming-of-age movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tremendous coming-of-age movie, and she is like just carries the film, much like I think she does here. Like I was kind of shocked to find that like next to Matt Damon and Jeff Bridges and Josh Brolin in a Coen Brothers script, that she carries so much gravitas, which is super impressive, especially because the movie demands that of her. Like she's scripted as this character that is very much a fish out of water, in that she doesn't belong in this world that she's trying to be a part of, but she very much believes that she belongs, and she carries herself in a way that like makes it believable. Like I completely buy that she has the wit to outsmart a lot of these guys, and that she is tough enough mentally to like hold up in these like really dangerous situations.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, also too, like someone like my wife, Kat, who does not watch Westerns, or she's not a fan of them. I'm not even sure she had watched a full Western before. She actually sat down and watched this with me because I was like, I think you'll really like this one because it's a Coen Brothers film. And sure enough, like within, I mean, not even 10 minutes, she was like, oh my God, I love this girl. She's amazing. This is so good. And then 20, 30 minutes, she's like, this movie's so charming. And then she kind of had forgotten that it was a Coen Brothers film. And I was like, well, you know, like you're obviously enjoying this because of the Coen Brothers writing. Is just so damn good. And she's like, oh my God, yeah, it's a Coen. No wonder I like it so much. And all the way to the end, man, she was like, that was like the best Western I've ever seen. Like I loved it so much. So,
the dialogue is really
so good.
I mean, they always have top-notch dialogue.
Yeah, it's just they're the best.
But yeah, Jeff Bridges is great.
You can understand him.
Yeah, if you can understand him. I did end up using subtitles just because I wanted to kind of, I wanted to like get a better grasp of the script. But then you have Matt Damon in one of my, like, I love Matt Damon. He's not someone that I like think about when it comes to like the best actors alive. Like he's just someone that I really enjoy as a movie star, and I like Jason Bourne. I like the Ocean's movies and The Martian.
No, he's great, man. He's great. I'd forgotten he was in this, honestly, because I have it on DVD, but we just like it since it was on HBO Max. I was like, oh, sweet, we'll just watch it on HBO Max.
Yeah.
And I was telling Cal, I was like, yeah, there's one character in this. He's such a sleazebag asshole. I can't stand him. And then when Matt Damon came on the screen, I was like, oh shit, that's right, it's Matt Damon. And then I kind of forgot about his character development. I was like, oh, you know what? I don't think he actually ends up being that bad. He sucks at first, but I don't know.
Yeah, and Matt Damon is so perfectly cast for that too, because
he's so good.
The way that he just has this charm to him that as the character develops, like Matt Damon's able to execute that charm so well that he kind of becomes redeemable, and he becomes someone you want to root for. So I actually think this is one of my favorite Matt Damon performances.
Definitely makes some dumb mistakes though. He makes some dumb mistakes like
LaBeef is not
it's LaBeef.
not the smartest guy.
No.
But I love like the opening scene where his introduction, where he's watching Maddie, the Seinfeld character. She's sleeping and he's like trying to
so creepy.
Yeah, this man that you are looking for, I want him too, so we could, you know, like fear not, we have a commission out on this man's head, blah blah blah. And when the Maddie character, you know, says that, hey, I've hired my own marshal and I'm gonna do this and fuck you, he's like, what does he say? Something to the effect of, now I even thought about stealing a kiss while you were sleeping there.
Yeah, to a 14-year-old girl, dude. What the hell?
Yeah,
it's so weird.
And then he says something about her being unattractive to boot.
Yeah, it's sick and unattractive. And then he talks about like spanking her. Like, fuck off, dude. Yeah, he's the worst at first.
He hits her with a switch. It's very jarring when he does that, because you're like, you're like, Matt Damon. Like this is gonna be fun. And then he's
and I loved I loved Cogburn's response where she's like, "Are you gonna let him do this?" And he's like, "I do believe
I reckon I won't." Or whatever it is.
Like I believe I will not, or something like whatever. And he, raises his firearm and tells him to stop. But
pretty reluctant about it too, though, because the Cogburn character is a great. It's that classic Western hero. The what's the word? The reluctant hero that doesn't want to be
anti-hero
in the movie.
Right? No, is that what?
I wouldn't call him an anti-hero. He's just a heroic figure that doesn't want to be heroic. Like he would much rather.
Yeah.
He would much rather be lazy and
drunk on whiskey.
Right.
Yeah, one of my favorite lines. One of my favorite lines of the movie is that because that little girl's like, Maddie's like, you just take, you just use your money to buy whiskey and get drunk and whatever. And he's like, I don't spend my money on whiskey, I confiscate it. It's so good, man. And he does. And like he ends up doing that exact thing. Like when they come up to those guys in the cabin and they end up killing them, and they have these like fucking cases of bottle of whiskey, man. And sure enough, he confiscates it and like drinks it all in one day trip, and he's just completely shit-faced but still able to function. It's amazing.
Little cameo from Domhnall Gleeson in that scene.
Oh yeah,
took me by surprise.
I know, man.
Yeah.
Was it Kat and I had a bet because I didn't realize he was in that until I watched it again recently because I hadn't seen it in years, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's that guy from that show we just watched, on HBO, whatever it was called. He's also in obviously he's in other movies too. I can't think of it at the moment, but he's in like Black Mirror and stuff like that. But she was like, no, that's not him. I was like, no, I think it is. And
I forget the name. I forget the name of the show, but I know exactly what you're talking about. He did have a show that like just.
Yeah, it wasn't very good, but I like him a lot.
Yeah, I like. He was in like Ex Machina and About Time. Like he had a lot of good stuff over the last decade.
Yeah, About Time. That was the one I mentioned to Kat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's always kind of funny when he pops up in things like that.
Star Wars too, right? He was in Star Wars.
Yeah, he's General Hux in the new trilogy. But
that was called Run. That's stupid. It wasn't really good.
Clearly a great script because it's a Coen Brothers script. But also like Deakins shot this, so of course it looks tremendous. It's just great cinematography, great classic Western score. If I have any sort of marks against it, is I found the climax at the end a little bit wanting. Like it's still like a good ending, but I feel like I wanted like a little bit more of a showdown than we actually get, just because everything kind of happens really quickly. Mm-hmm. The bad guys just all get killed like very fast, and then the ending becomes about this like race to get the venom out of Maddie's hand, and it just kind of moves quickly, and I maybe wanted more, but
I loved it because I very much remember that image of him riding the horse at night with the stars and her kind of like tripping because she's sick and poisoned from the snake bite.
Right.
And just like this sheer will of getting her to help, getting her to safety, keeping her alive. I was very emotional in the theater, and it stuck with me. So, you really obviously, Cogburn's heart. He's got a big heart. It's just buried deep in his chest, and you see it come out like that. It's just so beautiful, and then it's just kind of like that's it. It's over, Except they have that. I would say I guess I could have done without the her being older and her going to visit him, but he had died like 3 days ago. I'm like, what? That sucks. Yeah, I could have done without that.
It's like a little epilogue that I don't know that we needed.
Yeah.
Like, it could have ended with just like a little bit of voiceover saying that he left before I had a chance to see him again or something like that. But I don't know, still effective, I think. And the sequence of him rushing her to safety is very moving, and I feel bad for little Blackie, the horse that had to become a casualty. But yeah, I like this movie a ton. I think that it lived up to all of the other Coen stuff that I've seen, and it's maybe inspired me to go back and watch a lot of their movies now, because I always find their stuff to be really fun.
And also underused definitely was Barry Pepper as Lucky Ned.
Really great villain.
He's so good. Hey, that guy's awesome. And like when the camera is like underneath his chin, his face, kind of like on the ground, and he's calling out to Rooster like, "Rooster, who do you got with you?" And he's just like, his mouth is disgusting, and it's like just filled with all kinds of plaque, and it's never been brushed, and he's just like spitting, and it's going all over Maddie, and man, that guy's such a cool actor. I thought I would have wanted to see more of him, and of course, I mean, Josh Brolin's great too, but kind of similar to No Country, he was not in it for very long, and his character is I don't know, an idiot.
Yeah, it was kind of, I kind of like the misdirection of the Josh Brolin character is the one that we're spending the movie chasing. Like, that's who we're after. That's the guy that we want. You kind of build up this image in your head of him as this like big bad, like in the video game, you move through the levels to like get to the boss at the end. Like, that's like, you're thinking like, this guy is the boss. He's the ultimate baddie that we have to fight. And then you meet him finally, and he's just a freaking moron.
And he opens his mouth. You're like, what the? Why does he sound like that? He's like, oh, hold on, yo. Like, what? Why do you sound like that? Oh, yo. Oh, I know your father. It's so weird.
So that was kind of a fun misdirect to have him just kind of be a bumbling idiot when you're thinking he's going to be the big bad guy of the movie. But really, it's Lucky Ned who's more of the mastermind.
Yeah.
And Tom Chaney's just a minion. True Grit, great movie. Let's move on though. Our final film review of 2010 is going to be David O. Russell's The Fighter.
I made a promise to them I wouldn't work with you again.
You sticking to that?
I don't know what else to say.
What are you gonna do? Turn your back on Dickie?
You really think your family's looking out for you?
I'm the one fighting, okay? Not you, and not you.
Why am I the problem? I'm his blood. I'm his family.
Do me a favor, don't leave nothing for me no more.
He's using you.
You can't be me. This is my shot. I won't get another one after this.
The Fighter, rated R, in theaters December 17th.
So The Fighter is one you did not see before, right?
I had never seen it. I was very excited to see it.
What were your thoughts after first viewing?
I absolutely loved it. I guess I did not realize ahead of time that it was a David O. Russell movie, who I really, really loved his movies, especially the one I guess he's most known for, Silver Linings Playbook, as one of my favorite movies of the past, 10 year old, really one of my favorite movies of this century. And of course he had I Heart Huckabees and Three Kings, and then off of his Silver Linings Playbook success, he did American Hustle and Joy, and I find his movies to be really comforting.
He did his Jennifer Lawrence trilogy.
Yeah. I find his movies to be really comforting in a way, and he tells these really great stories about these sort of dysfunctional individuals and families, and I thought after seeing I don't know how I missed this movie, or like why I didn't watch it, or it kept passing me by, but I really, really from the very beginning was invested in, Dickie, Christian Bale's character. I didn't know is the majority of the movie, at least the first half of the movie is about his crack addiction. And that's pretty heartbreaking. And his little brother, Mickey, who's looked up to him his whole life, played by Mark Wahlberg, is just trying to get a good fight so he can move up because he's a good fighter, but he's just bogged down by his family because he lives in this area of where were they living again?
Isn't it in Massachusetts?
Yeah, I guess it's like Boston, right, or around there.
I thought so.
Yeah, he just got a big family. He's a family guy. He just wants to make them happy, along with trying to progress his career. And his brother Mickey is known for like going head to head with famous boxer. Damn it, I'm drawing a blank now too on him. What was his name? The boxer that he fights, that he like trips. Sugar Ray Leonard, right?
Is that who it is?
Yeah. But no, man, I love the comeback story of Dickie, Christian Bale's character, doing something that not many people can do very easily.
Right.
Beat a crack addiction because he goes to prison. He thought the beginning of the movie has him being followed by camera crew, and he thinks like, it's all about my comeback, and it's all about him getting back in the ring or coaching his brother to be a great fighter. And he has no idea that really this documentary that's being filmed by HBO is actually about crack addiction. And then he watches it in prison and is mortified, and he starts to clean up his act after that. And it was really just a beautiful movie all the way to the end, where a lot of times these type movies, they don't really work out in the way that this one did. And what's so cool about this story is that it's true, and you get to see the actual characters in the end. And they're still alive to this day. I mean, they're still very successful people, brothers. Mickey and Dickie are still like, Dickie works at Mickey's gym. Mickey ended up going on to be like this really great fighter. So, no, man, I love it. And obviously the performances, it's a powerhouse of a movie when it comes to the actors and the actresses, the performances here. And Christian Bale, Amy Adams, who I think, did Amy Adams win an Oscar for this, or was it just Christian Bale, or are they both?
This movie did win 2 Oscars. It was for Christian Bale and Melissa Leo as the mom. So, yeah, Amy Adams was nominated as well, but Melissa Leo won the Oscar for supporting actress.
Okay. Yeah, no, Christian Bale, man, that guy.
It's the performance of his career, I think. Like, he's done a lot of really great stuff. I think like The Prestige, he's really great in. But I think that like this deservedly is the movie that got him his Oscar. And honestly, like, I think this is kind of his movie. Like, Mark Wahlberg is the main character, but I think that Christian Bale's character is the heart and soul of it. Like, he's
100%. Yeah,
he's kind of like the driving force of what makes the story hum. And he's not always likable throughout the film. Like, there's as he battles his addiction, it's one of the things that I struggled with. It's a movie that I like a lot, but I think like the first time I saw it, I struggled to fall in love with it because I found the characters to be really frustrating. And granted, they're true. Like, these are real people that are imperfect. So it makes sense that they're not going to be these like completely pleasant people or whatever. They're very flawed, which is the story. Like, the story is about these flawed people trying to become better.
Yeah. And the sisters, oh my God. Because they had like 7 sisters.
Yeah.
Oh, they're the worst. And they're all like always sitting next to each other, and they're always in the same room with each other, and they're always judging and calling Amy Adams' character terrible names, and they're the worst.
They are. And Amy Adams with what she's given does a really great job in this movie. I mean, she does. I wouldn't say that she's great in everything, because she's done some movies that are kind of questionable, but she remains one of my favorite people to watch in a movie. And I think
she's great.
I think that the fighters, honestly, like, I wish she had won. I think the mom performance is fine, and it's like very over the top in a way that Oscars loves. But Amy Adams, I don't know, she just kind of like Christian Bale. She of all the characters, I believe, has the most humanity, and her relationship with Mickey kind of takes a lot of the unpleasantness of what he's dealing with at home and kind of like gives you this new perspective on it, and really helps Mickey become more of a lead figure in his own story. Because I think a lot of this narrative is about a brother who has spent a lot of his life being overshadowed, which is what makes this movie kind of fascinating. Is it's like a movie about Mark Wahlberg living in the shadow of his brother Christian Bale, as whether like his brother was the fighter first, and then his brother had the addiction and became a focus in that regard. But throughout the movie, you kind of feel that too, because Christian Bale just commands so much presence in the performance.
I was gonna bring that up because you mentioned it earlier, how he steals the show and it ends up being his movie, and that's exactly what happens. Like, just like in the story itself, it's supposed to be about the brother Mickey, but he beats his crack addiction, he brings everyone back together, and I mean, his brother couldn't do it without him, so
it is a nice, and Mark Wahlberg does get his moment towards the end where he like finally gets to stand up to everyone and be like, fuck this. This has been about you guys all this time, and I've been ignored, and it's my time now. Like, it's my time to have my moment and to, achieve what I want to achieve. So I do think it kind of has this triumphant end to it, which I do think it's like a strong payoff. But this movie's kind of tricky to me in that it's more so than like a Rocky or a Raging Bull or something to that effect. It's not really about the fighting. This movie is very much about the family dynamic. Like, that is like first and foremost, totally. And the boxing stuff is just kind of secondary. So it has that like big fight at the end, and he wins the fight or whatever, and it's like kind of a triumphant moment. But it's really more about the fact that like the family has kind of overcome a lot of their own shittiness.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I didn't realize, because in the end they tell you that he goes on to fight like Gotti and like beats him, at least once or maybe twice, which is incredible. Like, he ended up being this incredible fighter that went on to have this amazing record, and he won some world titles, and like, wow. I mean, he came so close to not having any of that. But yeah, the way David O. Russell focuses on the family aspect of it, which he does so often in his films, he's so good at it. That's definitely the heart and soul of the movie. And yeah, like you said, it's not even about the fighting per se.
What did you think about the fighting scenes? Did anything like stand out to you about the way in which they were filmed?
I mean, they were filmed really well. I think I was so engrossed in the moment that so they were that good. They were filmed that well that I kind of got lost in those scenes and the fights.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because when I first watched this movie, I remember thinking the fight scenes were fine, but they lacked a lot of kinetic action that you sometimes get from like a Rocky or a Creed, or these movies that kind of like use the boxing as like an epicenter for the big set piece. And then I read up a little more about some of the stylistic choices that were made here, and it was very much intended that these were going to be filmed as if it was television broadcast. Like David O. Russell films the fights, something like Creed, the fight is very cinematic. They're weaving, and there's the music, and there's the big punch. And it's just kind of constructed in a way like boxing doesn't always work that way. Like boxing is often a pretty stagnant sport. There's a lot of grappling and back and forth, and he wanted to film them in a way in which they would feel like an HBO special from the 90s, so much so that he like put this grain on the camera to make it feel like it was from that time, like it was an older broadcast. So reading that, it became really interesting to me, and I think it's an effective tool because so much of the movie is about the realism of these characters and trying to be authentic to the true story. So to like film the fight scenes as if we were watching them in real time, so much so that he actually hired the broadcasters that did these fights back then and had them read the exact copy from their broadcast at the time to basically like simulcast it as if you're watching, just a replay of the actual fight. So that was kind of cool to me. Like at first I didn't think it was super exciting, and I kind of questioned why, but then reading some of those reasons definitely put it into a different perspective.
Yeah, totally, man. I mean, I love the scene where he's fighting and Sugar Ray Leonard is actually one of the commentators. And then afterwards, of course, again, Dickie had fought Sugar Ray Leonard. That was like his claim to fame, that he was fighting Sugar Ray Leonard in the ring, and Sugar Ray Leonard fell down because he knocked him down. But the truth is, and this comes up multiple times in the film, that it's very clear that Sugar Ray Leonard actually just tripped, and while Dickie was having a good fight and they were going round for round, it wasn't, he didn't really knock Sugar Ray Leonard down. And so when he has that conversation, he confronts him after that fight where Mickey gets his ass kicked, another bad matchup. Sugar Ray Leonard's like, he knows who he is, and he's like, all right, man, yeah, what's up, Dickie? I know you think you knocked me down. What's that? You're doing a movie? What's it about? Like, come back? Okay, yeah, call me. It's just, I thought that was a really good scene and kind of like heartbreaking for everyone involved, really, especially Dickie, because he's still sort of under this delusion that like he's making this documentary about his quote unquote comeback, but really it's about his crack addiction.
I feel like it's a movie that's very much about the fall. It's the fall of Dickie, and then his ability to rise again through supporting the rise of his brother, like by just coming to his brother and being like, you're the one who gets the chance. Like Dickie had his rise and fall, and now his only chance for redemption is going to be to let his brother have his opportunity and to be a support in that. So that aspect of it is really nice and really good to see. Like, obviously not a perfect family. A lot of the dynamics are pretty fucked up, specifically when it comes to, like you said, the sisters and the mom. But it's a cool story about brothers being there for each other no matter what.
The scenes of him of Dickie in the crack den you know, with his friends. Like they're just smoking crack in that, you know, kind of crack house.
Mm-hmm.
And him keep, whenever someone comes to get him, he's late to be somewhere, and it's his mom or family member. Like he always jumps out the back window onto the trash bags. It's so sad. And every time it's like, dude, we know your escape route. You know, like you can't. It's so like, and also that I think it was the first time they were in the crack house. Dickie's like reenacting the fight with Sugar Ray Leonard while he's high, and his buddy that he's, you know, smoking with is acting as Sugar Ray Leonard, and he's going through every move that he did with them, everything, and then he goes down, and it's all juxtaposed. Oh my god, I always mess this word up.
Juxtaposition.
Thank you, sir. I always butcher that word. Yeah, with the smoking crack to the actual fight, and the reenactment and while smoking crack to the actual fight. I thought that was a really cool and also, again, heartbreaking scene.
Yeah.
Really well filmed, really well edited.
No, I think David O. Russell kind of had a perfect little run there in the, you know, first half of this last decade to kind of start it off with The Fighter and then do Silver Linings, which I do think is a superior film, only because I'm with you that I think Silver Linings is maybe my favorite romantic film of you know, of the past few years for sure.
Yeah.
You know, American Hustle is a movie I remember liking it. I've not really thought about it a lot since I saw it.
I was really excited about it, and then I saw it, and yeah, I liked it, but it was definitely flawed. Like there was, it could have been so much better. Again, the performances. I mean, he gets these great performances out of these actors. It was a great cast, and it was like, again, it was Christian Bale, it was Amy Adams, it was Bradley Cooper. So yeah, it was like a greatest.
Yeah, he put
hits.
The Fighter and Silver Linings together.
Yeah.
He was like, we're gonna take the stars of both movies and put them all in one movie.
But yeah, lightning didn't really strike a third time. I mean, it was good. It was entertaining, but not nearly as powerful as
he got like Oscar attention for all three of them. So like, he at least kept that train rolling. And then I think Joy is kind of. I actually never have seen Joy, but from what I know,
Kat really loves Joy. Like she went and saw it in the theater, and she's a big David O. Russell fan. Like one of her favorite movies of all time is I Heart Huckabees. But so she had forgotten that he did this movie, and she had already seen it, which is amazing. Maybe the only time ever Kat saw a sports movie that I had not seen. I thought that was funny. And she loves this movie as well, and just loves him. Loves David O. Russell and his films. So
I feel like he's not done anything in a while.
No, I was actually just
Joy
looking.
was 2015.
Yeah, I was actually just looking.
Yeah, it's interesting that he had a movie. He had 4 movies from 2010 to 2015, and then nothing since.
I'll have to go back and watch American Hustle. I bet I would. I almost guarantee I would enjoy it more than I did, you know, whenever it came out 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, it's.
7 years ago it came out.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters, and then I watched it again maybe 3-4 years ago. It's a good movie that I just don't really think a lot about.
Yeah, he's got an untitled project in pre-production. So yeah, he just took a break. He hasn't even in producing. Yeah, he just straight up decided to take some time off.
Yeah, that's interesting. Hopefully he comes back and has some good stuff. I'm kind of really hungry for some, like 2020 certainly had its share of good movies, but I'm hungry for more top-notch stuff. Although this is a great cast here on his new, there's no information about it, but he's got a movie with Margot Robbie, John David Washington, and Christian Bale. I meant to ask you, did you ever end up watching Tenet?
I still have not watched Tenet. No.
You'll have to let me know when you do. Thought about that with John David Washington.
I'm just gonna wait, man. I'm gonna wait till it's like on HBO or whatever.
Rather than like rent it or anything.
No, because at this point, I think I've heard enough to be like, I'm not as excited. I'm not as excited as I was before it came out because of what I've heard about it, and I'm not shitting on the movie at all. I still expect to enjoy it in a sense, but I think I've heard enough to be like, okay, I now I know what to expect, and I'm not even mentally ready to even. I don't even want to watch a movie like that right now. Like, I don't need that kind of anxiety while watching a film. So I'm just gonna wait until it's free on HBO Max. It'll probably be like free in like a few months or something, I imagine.
Are there any new movies you guys did watch?
Oh man, Wonder Woman, it's so bad.
Yeah, we watched that. That was pretty disappointing.
Yeah, so there was that.
Did you watch Soul?
No, that's not. We really want to watch it. We haven't put it on yet.
Soul is really good. Soul is my favorite movie of 2020, probably. I think.
Oh, wow.
I also saw Mank. I don't know if you watched Mank.
Oh, we started Mank, but we were both too tired, and we still need to go back and watch it.
Yeah, Mank is. I loved Mank, but I'm also a huge nerd for film history. I think if you're someone that like isn't all that invested in, Orson Welles or the making of Citizen Kane or whatever, then it's not really going to be for you. But I found it really interesting because that kind of shit is right up my alley. I think though we have reached a point where we can kind of officially wrap up our 2010 reviews, and we can I'm not quite sure how to do this, but now that we're finished with 2010, obviously in real time we're into 2021. Normally we would have tried to like go back and review some January 2021 movies, but like that kind of stuff doesn't really exist. It's all really terrible shit that's not worth our time. So we'll do some like reflection on 2010 at large, and then next month in February we can officially dive into 2021 and the 2011 movies.
Yeah, because we don't need to talk about January movies. I mean, who cares?
Yeah, January is typically when people are just like watching shit that they missed from 2010. Like if there's something that came out you didn't get a chance, like you'll go back in January and check it out.
Yeah, exactly. It's the award-winning Oscar-nominated films that were limited released in December, you can now see in January. So
I'm kind of going to dig into like the Oscar categories, and I'm going to rattle off a couple of, we're not going to do like everything. Like we're not doing like costume design and any of that shit, but I do want to kind of like,
main ones, yeah.
I kind of like want to hit the big stuff. All right, let's talk 2010. We've said all year that this was a tremendous year for scores and soundtracks. There's so many great choices. For the Oscars purposes, best original score at the Oscars went to Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross for The Social Network, which is iconic. It's iconic.
Yeah.
Other nominees were 127 Hours, which we also shouted out when we reviewed that movie. How to Train Your Dragon, which is a movie we didn't cover, but has one of my favorite like themes for an animated film. It's something that I like think about a lot as a just great piece of film music. The King's Speech was nominated, and then of course Inception, composed by Hans Zimmer. So is Social Network your winner?
100%. It's not even a contest, man. Trent Reznor, Social Network, Absolutely brilliant. One of the greatest scores of this century. Easy.
Yeah, I agree with you, and for the sake of being different,
You have to pick Inception. You have to go Hans.
I'm gonna give it to Hans.
You love Inception so much. I mean, do we even have to talk about your favorite movie, or like, can we just go ahead?
I mean, we know that Inception is going to be my best picture of the year. Like, that's just going to be a given. But I will say, Hans Zimmer's Time obviously has been played a lot. It's been like parodied a lot. It's that song at the very end of Inception, as DiCaprio is going through the airport and seeing his kids again, and the whole spinning top. But that track is maybe my favorite piece of music in film history, is Hans Zimmer's Time. It's just a great piece of film music. And I mean, Social Network, also iconic, but I'm going to go ahead and give it to Hans.
I mean, yeah, Hans Zimmer is an absolute legend.
Yeah, he's a legend.
You can't really argue, because that movie really was driven by its score. Just as like another one of my favorite scores of this past decade was Dunkirk. I mean, again, Hans.
Yep.
And if we were choosing for that year, I would say Hans, because I actually watched that movie recently, early in the year, and I mean, I think the soundtrack is like the best part of the film.
Such a good score.
It's so good.
And there's a lot of, I mean, people made fun of for a long time the blah, blah, because Inception became known for that. But there's a reason that it became made fun of, because it's so memorable. Like, it's such a staple to why that film works.
Yeah, but, greatest form of flattery is imitation, right? So people just they loved it so much that they had to imitate it and make fun of it and have fun with it.
All right, next category. Let's do cinematography. So that year, Inception actually won Best Cinematography. It went to Wally Pfister. Other nominees were Black Swan, The King's Speech, The Social Network, and True Grit. What is your choice for Best Cinematography of 2010?
Obviously, we have some real big heavy hitters here with Social Network, Inception, 127 Hours, but I'm going to go with, I'm choosing right now, Shutter Island, Robert Richardson.
Interesting. I like that choice.
Yeah, I love the look of that film. That movie makes me feel so uncomfortable throughout the whole film, and I think it's really just sort of a jarring experience throughout. And
it has such wonderful imagery too.
Yeah.
Those dream sequences, like those images of him, like with the falling petals and the rain. Yeah. Really, really great choice there. And
of course, he's also one of my all-time favorite movies, Inglourious Bastards. He was cinematographer for Kill Bill. So, I mean, he's no slouch. But I know there were some really heavy hitters that year. 2010 was an incredible year for cinematography. So, and of course, I mean, you can't. There's Roger Deakins. He's out there, but he got his due eventually with Blade Runner 2049.
Deakins got his due.
Yeah. I mean, he should have won, honestly, well before Blade Runner, but is what it is.
For sure.
But yeah, I think Shutter Island and Robert Richardson, man, it's, I can like see it now, you know? Just brilliant.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go off the beaten path too and choose a movie that was not nominated at the Oscars. But I'm gonna say best cinematography for me of 2010 was 127 Hours. Anthony Dodd Mantle and Enrique, I believe that's Chidiac, are credited as the DPs on that movie. And I think that movie is like, so much of it is dependent on making use of such limited space. Like, obviously they're trapped with the character in between the rock for the large majority of that movie. And I think from a photography standpoint, they just do a really amazing job of keeping that confined space, making it feel claustrophobic, but also never letting it be boring. They find the way that they go inside the water bottle, the way that they do close-ups of his face to like show the sweat and show him, as he's getting tired or getting hungry. And they really just, each section of that movie, even down to the memorable sequence in which he cuts off his arm, is just constructed in a way that it like sticks in your brain. Like that movie has so many images that I think are with you. Like we said during our review, like those images carry with you like long after you've seen it. So for that, I'm gonna give it to 127 hours.
Yeah, man, I like it. It's, another one of my favorite films of that year, and one of my favorite films of the past decade. So can't really argue with you there.
Now for the next one, this one feels kind of easy. I'm gonna do best screenplay. Now normally like they split it up by original and adapted, and there was a lot of great screenplays that year, but Aaron Sorkin won for Social Network. He's gonna be my winner too, and I don't think we need to talk about it any more than we already have. But if you have a different winner, I want to hear it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Hot Tub Time Machine, and I'll tell you why. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's definitely Social Network. Yeah, 100%.
That was 100%. Good. That was really good.
I mean, yeah. Again, there's some great movies here with incredible scripts. I mean, you could give an argument for Shutter Island. I think Shutter Island was really
kind of
slept upon that year, like as far as the Oscars go. Like they didn't get enough credit there. I mean,
I'll mention
Fighter. I think The Fighter had, was a great script.
Yeah, I'll mention some nominees here. Like King's Speech won for original screenplay. The Fighter, Inception, The Kids Are All Right. Those were nominated. And then for adapted, of course, Sorkin wins for Social Network. And then you have 127 Hours, Toy Story 3, which is kind of a nice surprise that got some recognition there in screenplay. True Grit and Winter's Bone. So yeah, all really great screenplays. But
yeah,
Social Network is arguably the best of the decade.
Mm-hmm.
So it deserves that. Okay, next we will do Best Supporting Actress, which, like we just talked about, the Oscars gave this to Melissa Leo for The Fighter. Also nominated was Amy Adams for The Fighter, Helena Bonham Carter for The King's Speech, Haley Steinfeld for True Grit, which I think is category fraud. She's a lead actress in that movie, and Jackie Weaver for Animal Kingdom, which I have not seen and don't know what that is. I'll start this category. My winner for Best Supporting Actress of 2010 is Mila Kunis for Black Swan. We talked about it at the time. I think she's amazing in that movie. I think she's why that movie works so well. And in particular, because I don't think she's ever been anywhere close to that good since in anything else she's done. Like, she's very funny. I love her in that 70s show. I love her in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. But with the exception of Black Swan, I don't know if I've ever seen her bring so much dramatic acting chops. Outside of her, I think Marion Cotillard is really great in Inception. I think that Michelle Williams is really good in Shutter Island, but I think I give it to Mila Kunis.
It's a good pick. Yeah. I'll go with Amy Adams. I really enjoyed her in The Fighter.
The Fighter. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly wasn't even sure if she had won. I knew she'd been nominated. I wasn't sure if she'd won, but I feel like it was kind of I mean, I know she had been in other films, obviously, before The Fighter, and I had not seen The Fighter yet, so. But I felt like watching it, a few weeks ago, like, oh wow, this feels like this was like the start of, like the beginning of Amy Adams, and she really kills it. Really does a phenomenal job. And
I think so. This is like the beginning of that run for her.
Yeah,
she starts to
just shows her chops, man. I think she was great. So yeah, I'd give it to her. I mean, she kind of like really, what's the word I'm looking for? She just has that presence, that aura of like, this is the best supporting actress role of the year, and I'm giving it to you right now, and here it is, boom. I don't know. So I really enjoyed her in that, so I'll take her.
I mean, I think she's great too. I really wish she would have won, honestly, but
yeah,
she'll get hers eventually. Still has 0.
Has she never won an Oscar?
Never has.
Oh wow. Oh yeah, she will though.
All right, supporting actor. We just mentioned Christian Bale won this award for The Fighter. The other nominees were John Hawkes for Winter's Bone, Jeremy Renner for The Town, Mark Ruffalo for The Kids Are All Right, and Jeffrey Rush for The King's Speech.
And John Hawkes was awesome. I forgot about that one. It was really good. Oof.
Is Bale your winner, or do you have someone else?
I mean, I think Bale has to be the winner. Either him or Justin Timberlake, but I think it's got to be Bale. I was kidding again. No Timberlake. No, that John Hawke thing. I'd forgotten about John Hawke. I was like dead set on Bale, but then you said John Hawke. I was like, oh fuck, that's right. He's close.
He's really good in that movie.
He's really close there, but yeah, I mean, you got to give it to Bale.
I think you're joking about Timberlake, but I think for me, personally, I would give this award to Andrew Garfield for The Social Network.
Oh, dude, he's amazing. Yeah.
I talked about it when we reviewed that movie. And because we reviewed Black Swan and Social Network together, but I think that like he and Kunis kind of serve similar roles in those films where like the lead performances don't work quite as well as they do without how good they are as the supporting pieces. So he's kind of like an outside the box guy that I want to highlight because I think he has maybe my favorite scene of 2010 when he delivers the lawyer up asshole speech to Jesse Eisenberg. So yeah, Andrew Garfield is just really tremendous in that movie.
Yeah, and I love where he makes Timberlake's, he gives him that little flinch. Like,
yeah, that little you make me look so tough.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Lead actress. We have the winner was Natalie Portman for Black Swan. Other nominees were Annette Bening for The Kids Are All Right, Nicole Kidman for Rabbit Hole, Jennifer Lawrence for Winter's Bone, and Michelle Williams for Blue Valentine. Now, we only watched 3 of those, but
Blue Valentine, oh man, kill me. That movie's so depressing. The Rabbit, what the fuck was that? Nicole Kidman?
Rabbit Hole.
I've never heard of that.
I can't have either.
It's no question. It's Natalie Portman. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree. I think like Jennifer Lawrence has a case.
Yeah, she was good.
No, I think it has to be Portman. I think it's one of the better performances of the decade.
The fact that Portman is literally like she's giving it her all. She's giving it her very best effort in that performance to become this character,
right?
To become the Swan, become the Black Swan, and while doing that, she's also. I mean, that's what the movie's about, right? It's just this like becoming engulfed by this energy, this demon inside you, and just letting it rip. I mean, and I think she's truly doing that as an actress as well.
Yeah, and it is one of those examples where I think the Oscars did get it right with her. It's like a very well-deserved win. I think I personally, as I mentioned a second ago, like I consider Steinfeld a lead in that movie, and I think I would have like considered her in terms of one of my top choices.
It's a good call.
You know, Jennifer Lawrence is great. And I do kind of want to like shout out kind of an outside the box mention, which is Mary Elizabeth Winstead for Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yeah.
I think
fuck, dude, really I forgot that was a movie too. There's too many good movies this year. I don't even have that in my top 11. And
did you forget about that for your top 11?
I guess I did. I don't know what to do with my top 10. I have no idea. I still haven't decided.
Yeah, Winstead is like one of my favorite, just on like a enjoyable standpoint from the year. I also think Emma Stone and Easy A is obviously like that movie is not near the caliber of any of these, but I think that's another nice performance. All right, we're 2 categories away. So lead actor went to Colin Firth for The King's Speech, which, as we talked about when we reviewed that movie, like this starter work he does is really impressive and kind of undeniable. But we also have Javier Bardem for Beautiful. I'm not sure I've ever even heard of that.
Oh yeah, no, I remember that movie. I haven't seen it, but I know the movie. Yeah.
Jeff Bridges for True Grit, Jesse Eisenberg for The Social Network, and James Franco for 127 Hours. All right, let me hear it. Who you got as the winner?
I definitely am a strong Franco fan for this. You know my love for 127 Hours. I think it's just it's a one-man show. It's a one-man performance. I mean, very Franco, right? I mean, I think he absolutely knocks it out of the park. I mean, I know there's in the last few years there's been some weird Franco things, and I think he's fine. You know, I don't think he did anything too horrible, but
yeah, all that aside, the performance is undeniable.
Yeah, I love him in this movie. You know, I was always a fan of his, and I remember just like weeping watching this film by myself in a theater. And it's because of like, dude, that scene in the end, man, when he's like trying to like yell out help, he's trying to say help, but finally like he's able to belt it out. I mean, every time, dude, waterworks. So I love that movie, and I absolutely believe that he was the best actor that year.
I'm with you. That's my choice too. We have the same leads. If we had it our way, it would have been James and Natalie up there together.
Yeah.
But yeah, he carries the film. He's why that film is as good as it is. I do want to mention of the people not nominated, obviously DiCaprio. DiCaprio in Shutter Island, not Inception. I think I love Inception, but I think that his performance is superior in Shutter Island.
Yeah, the Shutter Island really got shut out. What was Shutter Island even nominated for that year?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing really, no.
Is it because it came out in like February or whatever it was? That's
yeah, I think so. I think it just kind of gets forgotten about. But yeah, I think Eisenberg and Firth are both really great. But I think Franco's just superior. All right, we could do director too, but I think that this is also going to kind of fall in line with our best picture of the year. Tom Hooper ends up winning for King's Speech. Aronofsky is nominated for for Black Swan. David O. Russell for The Fighter. David Fincher for Social Network, and Joel and Ethan Coen for True Grit.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue against Social Network. I think it's clearly Fincher, but I come real close to saying Aronofsky for Black Swan because I think the performances he's able to pull out of that. It's an incredibly haunting, amazing, beautiful film. But yeah, it's got to be Sorkin. I mean, not Sorkin, but Fincher.
I'm right there with you, and you know, as I'm sitting here, I'm gonna make. I do want to shout out Edgar Wright for Scott Pilgrim. I think that's a
Yeah.
Tremendously directed film, and he deserves a lot of credit for it. Danny Boyle as well for 127 hours.
It's an incredible year for directors, man.
I'm going to make a last second swap because everyone knows Inception's my favorite, but I initially had given Fincher director and Inception picture, but I think I might flip it and give Christopher Nolan director and Social Network picture. But I love both of those movies, so I wanted to find some way to like get them both in there.
Yeah.
I think Inception, I've talked about it enough. I love Christopher Nolan. I think that's the achievement of his career. As much as I like Dark Knight, I think Inception is like his finest moment. But yeah, it's just a really great year, and now we've reached our final list, I guess. So we're gonna do our top 10 movies of 2010 this year that we just covered. I'm gonna let you go first and just count down from 10 all the way to 1.
We're gonna count down from 10. Okay. This makes me have to eliminate 2 movies. I don't know.
Right off the top.
Oh, let's see. Number 10. I'll put Tron at number 10.
Okay.
Which is probably not on many people's top 10 lists of that year. But again, I don't know.
Hey,
that movie,
it's your list.
Yeah, it holds a special little place in my heart. And then rewatching it earlier in the year, I enjoyed it so much. So I'll make that, I not necessarily a top 10 movie of the year per se, but for me, for the experience, I put it there.
All right. So with Tron getting your 10, who missed it? Who missed the cut?
I think
you're still wrestling.
So for me, I guess I have 2 silly comedies currently on my list, and I think I need to knock one of them out, right? And I think you can probably guess what 2 they are. So I think I'm gonna have to
Hot Tub and Other Guys.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna have to bump Other Guys out. As much as I love that movie,
you gotta keep Cusack in.
Yeah, I gotta keep Cusack in. So
you're nothing if not on brand. I'll give you that much.
But I might but now I'm looking at having to do a second one because you reminded me of Scott Pilgrim, so now I'm like shit. But it's okay. I'll make the right decision. You can go next.
My number 10 is going to be True Grit.
Nice, yeah.
It obviously I just saw it, so it barely snuck in. I don't think I've sat with it long enough for it to be higher. I think there's a world where it is even higher than that, but I'll get it in there now. Sadly, it knocked out Unstoppable. I'm sorry, Unstoppable. I think you're a great action movie, but it knocked you out of the top 10.
Yeah, I would put Unstoppable in my top 15, but I'm not putting it in my top 10.
All right, number 9.
Number 9 would have to be The Town.
Twinsies.
Oh, yeah?
That's also my number 9.
Nice.
We didn't really talk about that today, but yeah, I think we were kind of tired when we reviewed that movie, but it's really sat with me better and better, like the more time removed I've been from it. So yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, it's so good. And then I'll never get that image out of my head of them driving by and the kid observing from the sidewalk, and he sees the shot of Ben Affleck in the nun mask. That shit's haunting and amazing.
Totally agree. The heist sequences are so memorable, and I think that's what really sets that movie apart. All right, since we had the same number 9, I'll go ahead and do my number 8. It's not even a movie that we reviewed this year, but my number 8 is How to Train Your Dragon, a movie that I saw forever ago. I revisited a lot. It's like Stealth, a DreamWorks animation movie that's a lot like a Pixar movie, and it's just really well made. Tremendous story, great animation. The flying sequences are very memorable. I remember seeing it in 3D. Yeah, it's just a movie that sat with me. It's my hot tub time machine, if you will.
Yeah. No, I like that, and that's exactly where I'll put Hot Tub Time Machine as well at number 8. So that makes perfect sense.
We're in sync right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Hot Tub Time Machine, man. Like you said with you and How to Train Your Dragon, I just love it gave me that sense of nostalgia, that sense of like Cusack still had it, and I had a really good time seeing it in the theater. We getting those early passes to see it, and it's by no means an Oscar movie or anything like that, but
yeah, it's yours. It's your list, and it's it's a movie that holds a special place for you.
So yeah, Hot Tub Time Machine, number 8 with a bullet.
All right, why don't you go ahead and do 7?
Okay, 7. So at 7, I'll put The Fighter.
That got that climbed for you then off of the first viewing.
Climbed for me?
Well, I'm just saying, like it snuck in at a pretty high spot for a first viewing.
Oh yeah, well yeah, and part of it could be that it's so fresh in my mind, but I thought it was a really, really well made, beautiful film. So
yeah, I totally respect it.
I mean, yeah, I guess it wasn't even on my radar to start the year, right? Because I hadn't even seen it. So
yeah, I think for me, this spot is going to be where Shutter Island goes. It's obviously Scorsese, DiCaprio, two of my favorite people in film. We both love that movie. I think we talked about it a lot to start the year. But yeah, I think it, like we've been saying during the Oscars talk, pretty overlooked and maybe deserved a little more credit than it got.
Absolutely. It's a totally underrated movie. Maybe the most underrated movie of the decade. I don't know. I mean, we got 9 more years to go.
A lot more years to go.
But right now, it's looking like it might be the most underrated film.
Most underrated of 2010 for sure, probably.
Oh yeah, no, what? Absolutely.
All right, number 6.
Number 6, I'll go True Grit.
Okay. We just talked about that, so I don't think we have to do a lot more. My number 6 is going to be 127 Hours, nice. Which we've also talked a lot about.
Yeah.
Let's keep rolling. Number 5.
All right, so number 5 for me it's kind of the one that sneaks in because I hadn't seen this film until later in the year, or maybe even like in 2011. I may have not watched it until then. So I put Shutter Island at number 5, and it sneaks into my top 5. I didn't necessarily have like this wonderful, great experience with it, but when I did finally see it, because again, it was incredibly underrated and I kind of just went under my radar. When I did finally see it, I was like, what the hell? This movie's incredible. What happened? Why wasn't it talked about more? So, yeah, Shutter Island sneaks into my top 5 for sure, and there you go.
I certainly respect you going even more bullish than I did and getting it that high.
It's just so good, dude. Especially upon repeat viewings. I mean,
yeah.
Every time I watch that movie again, I'm like, oh my God, this movie's awesome.
My number 5, and again, I'm nothing if not on brand. My number 5 is Toy Story 3. That movie is just like connected to my adolescence, and it will forever be there. So I have to get it at least in the top 5, and for now, that's where it's going to stay.
That's nice. Yeah, it's a beautiful little film.
That it is. All right, number 4.
Number 4 for me is Black Swan. Love that movie. Had a really good experience with it in New York, as I've mentioned in the past episodes. I remember it fondly. I was by myself, just stumbled upon it in this theater in New York playing one movie, and it was Black Swan. And that movie was just like haunting masterpiece that is still, after 10 years, just stuck with me to this day. And actually, yeah, that was actually, I saw it after all the Oscar buzz, right? So I think I saw it in 2011 when I was in New York. Yeah, I loved it, man. I saw it in the winter. It was real cold. It was real dark. And
I totally agree. And once again, we connect because it's also my number 4.
Nice.
So, yeah, really great movie with great performances at the top of it. All right, we're in the top 3 now. These are the heavy hitters. And I'll just lead off to that. This group is the one that has not changed for me since the start of the year. Like, my top 3 has been pretty set in stone. But I'm curious if you had any changes.
I don't know. I don't even remember what my top 3. Do you know what my top 3 was?
I know that we both had Inception and Social Network in the top 3. I'm not sure I remember what your other film was.
So my third one is, so my number 3 is 127 Hours.
Okay, yeah.
And similar to Black Swan, I saw that by myself in a theater. I think I saw it over here at the Terra. But again, I just remember being very emotional, really affecting me in a really emotional way. And I just I think I teared up a couple different times. The score is incredible. The acting by Franco is just amazing. And yeah, I remember it to this day, again, sitting in the theater alone, crying by myself. I love that movie. So that's my number 3.
I like that choice. My number 3 is a movie that you didn't even have the decency to remember. It's Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
I just left it off top 10. I was like, fuck it, I don't know, Scott Pilgrim. And you know why? One of the reasons I did leave it off is because when we rewatched it this year, it did kind of annoy me.
He annoyed you, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, and I just remembered that too. I was like, that's right, that movie kind of annoyed the shit out of me this last time I watched it. I still love it. And I love that it makes more sense that you put it in your top 5 or whatever and make it your number 3. Because, you are 10 years younger than me, and it probably had more of a significance for you. I didn't see it until years later, so.
Yeah, this is a movie I found in college, and my college roommates and I used to watch this, all the time. And we would have, drinking games to it and stuff, and it's a really great movie. That's, it's really funny and was a great bonding experience, I felt like, for me and a lot of my peers. So
yeah, totally. And one of the best quotes is, "Ooh, coins." I say that sometimes.
Also, bread makes you fat. What?
Yeah.
Very, very quotable movie.
It's a great, unique, just really funny, ridiculous movie. I don't even know if that movie. That movie shouldn't even exist, but it does, and it's awesome.
They did I think I talked about it back then. They did a Zoom recording with all the cast doing the script for the 10th anniversary. It was super fun, and you can tell all of the cast still has a lot of love for this movie, and they kind of carried out their parts with the same passion, and that was cool to see, especially as some of them, like Chris Evans, who's infinitely more famous now than he was when this movie came out. But he still kind of was a good sport about it. So yeah, we're in our top 2 of 2010. If I'm guessing correctly, it's the same 2 movies but flip-flopped.
Well, my number 2 is Inception.
Yeah, your 2 is Inception. Your 1 is Social Network.
Yeah, but I thought you just said you were gonna make Social Network best film.
Oh, I did.
Yeah. Is that flip flopping?
It's the same. I was reading my Word document that I hadn't changed because I just did it in my head. But
I know in your heart, Inception is your favorite film. That's your favorite film of the year. Come on, let's not.
It's my favorite film of the decade. It's one of my 5 favorite films of all time.
Yeah.
But yeah, where I say that about Inception, Social Network is probably in my top 25 of all time. like just like a general number, it's just another movie that I think is an absolute masterpiece. My favorite Fincher, definitely my favorite Sorkin script. It's a just an absolute masterpiece. I think they both are. So
yeah, man.
We don't gotta go too much on it. They're just I think they're the most memorable and iconic movies of that year.
Yeah, I mean, and of the decade. And yeah, again, I had a great experience with Inception because I remember I was in Colorado. My buddies and I were, driving across country, and we met up with one of my best friends and saw it in the theater there. And I think we were in Breckenridge, and we went to some theater, like not many people were in the theater. And again, like we were just completely blown away. Obviously the ending with the spinning top. Oh my God. Like, I'll never forget that. So another great experience. A lot of good movie experiences in 2010. I did not see Social Network until later. So,
right.
But to me, it's clearly, it's top 10 of the decade.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of publications think it's the best.
Arguably the best. My number one of the decade would be Mad Max Fury Road, but that's another conversation down the road.
Ooh, what a good movie!
It's like maybe the greatest film ever made. I don't know. It's perfect.
It's so funny you say that because like I was doing my decade list like a year ago, like trying to like think about what my favorite films were of the whole decade, and I to know, like, I mean, no surprise, Inception is my 1 and Mad Max is my 2. So it's a pretty undeniable movie. It's just like, it's so ridiculously good. Yeah, that about wraps up for 2010. And notably, we both listed off 10 great movies, and neither of us said the film that actually won Best Picture, The King's Speech.
Yeah, screw that movie. It was fine. It was good. It was good. I don't want to say it. I take it back. Don't screw it. But very forgettable.
That
very
movie,
forgettable. Forget about it.
I like The King's Speech.
It was good. Yeah, it was very enjoyable.
That's probably like in my 15, 16 range or something like that. But
I wouldn't even put it in my top 15. But might sneak into the top 20.
Yeah, like reflecting on the year, The Kids Are All Right is a movie that I probably liked more. Unstoppable, Other Guys. I think like King's Speech, Winter's Bone, and The Fighter are all kind of movies that I sort of group together as movies I really like a lot.
Yeah.
But like was not like super in love with. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm gonna look any other movies before we kind of wrap up here. I think we kind of mentioned all of them, and even looking at the Best Picture list for the Oscars that year, obviously we covered all 10 of them over the course of our many months. And
I would like to bring up one category we did not talk about just real quickly, because I think it's absolutely it's worth mentioning, and that is editing. Best edited films of that year, and there's 2 in particular that I just thought were absolutely masterful, and that is obviously The Social Network.
Yep.
And 127 Hours. I don't know who to crown the winner really, because they're both so damn good and they're both so reliant on their editors. But
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and also both collaborations, because you got.
Well, why don't you crown 127 Hours the winner, because the Oscars gave it to Social Network.
Yeah.
So
I will. I will. And yeah, and they both had 2 credited, Kirk Baxter and Angus Wall for Social Network, and for
127 Hours.
Yeah, and I think when I saw this guy's name, I just had it up. Damn it! Oh wait, yeah, okay, it's John Harris, right?
Yeah, that's the only name I'm seeing.
Yeah, John Harris. I'm sorry. I thought there was 2 collaborations. I was thinking of a different film.
Different
Anyway,
movie.
John Harris, who I guess has edited a lot of Danny Boyle films. I'm kind of bad at these names when it comes to these guys that don't get enough credit. Obviously, film editing is just like such a huge component to what makes a movie good or great or masterful. And I think with Social Network and 127 Hours, you see like, people that are just at the top of their game that really weave together these incredible stories, both, one that's loosely based on truth and the other that it's like almost like completely factual when 127 Hours. So yeah, just incredible editing there. So I want to shout out to those people that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you did that, because I'm going to use this as an opportunity to shout out Jonathan Amos and Paul Machlis. Not sure how to pronounce that, but they are the two credited editors, and this is maybe the duo you were thinking about, on Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which is a movie that I'm not sure I'd crown it the winner, but definitely deserved credit and recognition for the editing of that film, and did not get any. But that's like all Edgar Wright movies, the editing is such a key piece of how his movies work, how the comedy gets delivered, and it's just the editing of that movie is really fun, for one, because of how it's made to feel like a video game and a comic book, but just also very well executed. So yeah, they great year for film. We talked about a lot of great movies this year. I think when we started, we thought we'd have more other things like in TV and sports to talk about, but there's just so many movies that were worth discussing that it just kind of became about that, but it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, and just one very last thing, hot tub time machine for best use of a hot tub. And that's it. That's best. Hot tub time machine gets the award for best use of a man crying during a sex scene. But yeah, man, great year. It was cool. Recollecting, on these wonderful films and performances, and yeah, it's been fun, man. And here we are in 2021, and we got another year ahead of us. Hopefully 2021 itself will be better than 2020, and we can at least look forward to.
We can only hope.
We can at least look forward to going back to the decade, to 2011, and
maybe one of these days we'll actually record a podcast in person again after the first one we did.
Yeah, maybe
9 months ago.
Honestly, we could do it here in my. I'm recording right now.
We could probably do it now that we have once the weather gets better, if we open it up.
Yeah, I'm thinking spring, right? But I'm doing it here on my ping pong table, and we got this is 20 feet between us, and I think by springtime we could open up the double doors. We could do it during the day, keep the airflow going.
Yeah, and who knows what kind of setup we'll have at the house. It's another new development for us.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna have a house this year, so it's exciting times, albeit trying times. But I'm excited for 2011. I've already been kind of looking at the list and kind of prepping the movies that we'll get to talk about, and it's definitely not as stacked a year in terms of just the overall strength of the movies at the top, but there's a lot of really fun stuff. We got some fun Marvel stuff with Captain America, and there's Bridesmaids and Moneyball, and there's good stuff to talk about. We'll have a Mission Impossible movie, so I'm excited about it.
Drive,
can't forget about Drive. But as we sign off, thanks to everyone who listened this year. This was kind of a new venture for us, but we had fun, and hopefully we'll get to keep on doing it and put out more fun stuff in 2021.
Thank you to our 7 fans. We appreciate you. We love you.
I think it's like 20, you know?
I don't even
maybe
know.
It's like, maybe it's 20 fans. Mom, thanks for listening. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Stay safe out there.
Elsewhere on We Made This. Frame to frame.
I mean, that was very nearly a James Stewart impression.
Oh, god damn it. There's supposed to be reindeer around here, but gosh darn it, I can't see them anywhere else. Oh, gosh darn reindeer around here. Anyway, sorry.
That I would have loved to see. Bad Santa starring James Stewart is what I would absolutely have adored to see.
I'm just trying to imagine.
Completely going against type.
So, say there, Sonny, what would you like for Christmas there? That would just be the...
No, I don't care that we're recording the podcast. This is just for me now. Can you, as James Stewart, say the word fuckstick?
Free with this month's issue.
Last year's we had 6 CDs to choose from, one of which was a Christmas CD.
Yeah, we've got the remaining 5 because we fired one bullet on the Russian roulette.
Yep.
So last year we had Metal Hammer's Razor. So the remaining 5 in the chamber are X-Ray CD 11 from X-Ray magazine, Radio Kerrang Volume 1, Mojo's Blue Christmas, which is the bullet, at least for Ian anyway, Steve Lamac's Bootleg Session Volume 3 from Melody Maker, and Rock Sound Music with Attitude Volume 32.
Life's milestones.
With pet bereavement, you also have anticipatory grief a lot of the time if your animal is elderly or unwell. And oftentimes with animals, there's guilt involved, and that can be, have I taken them to the vet too soon? Or have I, waited too long? So there's all these feelings of grief which are just as valid in pet loss as they are in human.
I think to some extent there's an element of fear of stigmatization as well. You feel this bad, but you don't want people to know because they might look down on you.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.